Welcome to Colonial Classics. This is the story of the 2019 Plymouth Whitemarsh Colonials, a team that faced some adversity going into the season, coming off consecutive one-win seasons. Many doubted that this team could achieve the greatness it once did in its previous playoff win over 22 years ago. The team started their year in early January, hitting the weight room hard. In spring, players attend outside practices wearing just helmets and focus on different training activities to improve strength, stretching, as well as several drills trying to acclimate themselves to the playbook. In summer, they then start two-a-day training, followed by preseason exhibition and the final sharpening of the tools before the season. Fast forward to Friday, November 1st, 2019. The Colonials were coming off an impressive 8-1 season and were given the 11th seed in the SOL American playoff bracket. In the first round, they would have a matchup against the Abington Galloping Ghosts, and they would travel to the renowned Schwartzman Stadium in Abington, Pennsylvania. The Colonials were a 17-point underdog, and it was ironic that this matchup against the Ghosts would be the day after Halloween. Brian Dresden and Larry McLaughlin highlight their mindsets going into this historic matchup.
Me personally, I was extremely confident going into the game, but just like before any other big game, the whole team's nervous. I mean, it's a big football game. We prepared our whole season just to, go big or go home. So, Coach Chang offensively has the same game plan every single game, so we know what we're doing. We're going to stick to that. And defensively, they just need to stop one kid, and that was the quarterback. So I think everyone knew we could win this game. We just had to execute and make plays.
Well, going into the Abington game, I was the most fired up on any game of the season. I remember when I was in the locker room, I was punching the air. I was watching all my Rocky montage videos to get jacked up. No, but in all seriousness, I knew that, because we did not win that Cheltenham game and we didn't win the league, we kind of had two goals going in the season. One was to win the league, the other was to win a playoff game, and so we didn't get the first goal of winning the league, so I knew that in order to make up for that, this Abington game was a must-win. So what was going through my head, honestly, what I remember when I walked out onto the field, we're talking about right before, the whole week leading up to it, I was just so excited. I could not wait for this game. And then when I got out onto the field, I remember looking across the field and I said to Alex Bell, I said, has anybody on their team worked even nearly as hard as we had? And he said, no. And I said, that's exactly right. So there's no reason we shouldn't demolish them, because I knew that I'd worked harder than every guy on their team and that our team in general had. We literally started and it must have been early January of last year prepping for this season. So we knew we were prepared. We knew it. But I also told everybody that we should play loose as well. Just to have fun. We got ball first to start the game, and we knew that in order to be successful, we had to score first. Because if we didn't score first, we would have had no momentum on our side. That's part of the reason why we lost against Cheltenham. I feel like we were never really able to build that momentum, but so scoring first is huge.
And score first they would. The Colonials would draw first blood with a brilliant Brian Dresden run right up the middle for the first touchdown of the game, giving the Colonials a 7-0 lead.
My first tutty, and I was like, we can beat this team, I feel like when we started out, it was kind of like, okay, they're a really good team. We weren't 100%. We were, we knew we could beat them, but I think that scoring first really solidified that, we're just as good as this team. And I think it told everybody on our team that, we can handle this team.
I believe Dres punched it in early. And although, like I said, we were confident, it was nice knowing we could just, execute our game plan like we've done all season and see how confused they were and how frustrating it was for them to stop our offense. I knew it was very possible we were going to kill them and win this game by a lot of points.
The Colonials' confidence on the offensive side of things carried into the defense as they forced Abington to go 3 and out. Some would say the Colonials have a three-headed monster in the backfield. The Ghosts must not have been aware of this, as Michael Pacello on the second drive became a huge headache for them. The Colonials would move the ball down the field with ease. On this play here, we can see the brilliance of the veer system of the Colonials, as when Dresden doesn't take the ball, it is pitched over to Pacello, and he splits the C's, scoring his first touchdown of the game. This game would be quite special for him before he even played in it because it was on his 18th birthday. The Colonials' offensive and defensive surge was something that the Ghosts had never seen. They were quickly flustered and had not one, but 2 pre-snap penalties on this drive that was so crucial to trying to claw their way back into this game. As if the 2 penalties weren't already enough, the Ghosts would then have a huge fumble on 3rd down that would lead to a 4th and long punt. On the next drive, Larry McLaughlin describes his favorite play of the game.
It was a play we actually haven't used a lot in the season, but we've practiced many times. So Dres, we all know he can run the football, actually snuck out of the backfield and ran a wheel route down the sideline. And I was able to anticipate and hit him for the clutch 4th down, and actually led to a touchdown for Dres and the team, getting everyone pumped up, the momentum. And we were ready to keep going and scoring every single time. So I think that was a really good boost for our offense.
I didn't think he was going to throw because I was so tightly covered by the defensive back. But I managed to get it literally one step on him. Man, I personally believe it was the best throw of his career. He led me perfectly, hit me. And I knew from that point on we were going to win because when I got up, their D-back told he said to the other kid who was covering me, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" So I said, all right, now they're arguing with each other. We got them right where we want them.
Indeed, Dresden was right. The Colonials had the Ghosts right where they wanted them, as Pacello would score his second touchdown of the game, giving the Colonials a 21-point lead.
There we went up, I think 21-0. And after that, we were kind of just like, we got this in the bag if we just keep playing the way we are. So that was huge starting fast like that.
Again, the inability to move the ball down the field plagued the Ghosts. Luck would start to go on their side, however, on a brilliant punt that would pin the Colonials on their own 4-yard line. What would ensue on 2nd down of this drive would be what I would refer to as the greatest play in Colonial sports history.
What was going through my head on that play is I got the ball right and I was running and I was like, okay, I'm going to get a nice 50-yard gain here. So I was kind of expecting to go out of bounds. And then he just comes over my back and tries to, instead of tackling me like he should have, he just tried to strip the ball. And then I was still in bounds and I was still running. So I was like, oh, I'm actually going to score here. I'm going to take this all the way to the house. So then I just kept running and I got to the end zone. I was like, oh my God. When I got to the sideline, I was just, I had just scored a 94-yard TD. I honestly couldn't even believe it myself because I'm not the fastest guy in the world. So I usually don't break, I'm more of a power back, 5 yards a pop. I'm sure his coach freaked out on him after that play. But yeah, that was just such an awesome play. And really, I think that play kind of, I think we were already up, at that point, but that play really solidified our dominance in the game. So, that's so deflating for the opposition.
Being a part of that was awesome, how I just saw him from behind take off and there was no chance anyone was taking him down. He saw the end zone and just kept on running. It was a great sight to see.
The 28-0 deficit for the Ghosts must have lit a fire under them, as they were able to exploit a weakness in the Colonial secondary, and Tymir Berthew was able to connect with Ahmed Stone for a great play that then was able to add even more yards with a personal foul penalty after the whistle. The Ghosts were not going to allow themselves to get shut out on their own home field, and Berthew would find Messino, the fullback, in the end zone for the first touchdown of the Ghost, making it a 3-touchdown deficit. Momentum is a tricky thing. With a 3-touchdown lead in 2 minutes before the half, the Colonials could put the game away, but a costly fumble would give the Ghosts new life. Tymir Berthew is known for two things in particular: his mobility and his deep ball accuracy. He would sling one into the night that would be caught in the end zone that would close the Ghosts within 2 touchdowns of the Colonials with just a minute before the half. I believe that when one plays angry, they play their best. Brian Dresden, after his fumble on the previous drive, would make up for it, zooming the ball down the field, putting the Colonials in the red zone with just seconds before the half. Dresden would score his 3rd of the game and again put the Colonials up by 3 touchdowns. Just when Abington thought they had the Colonials on their heels, Brian Dresden took it upon himself to put the game back in his hands. The clock hit 0 and it was officially halftime. What everyone in the stadium started thinking was that this game was going to be a shootout. Both teams went in the locker room with plenty of momentum. How they would come out is ultimately what would decide the fate of their season. Coming right out of the half, the Abington Ghost wasted no time in scoring. They scored in 45 seconds and were able to make the score 21-35. But the Colonials would seem to have an answer right up their sleeve. The Ghosts picked up right where they left off, and so did Brian Dresden. He would have 3 consecutive rushes of over 10 yards. He would put the Colonials within striking distance of again taking a 3-touchdown lead. You might recall, I called the Colonials a 3-headed monster. That's because I couldn't have forgotten about Christopher Pearce, who in his first game back from injury would score the touchdown that would make the score 42-21. Berthew would refuse to back down, and again he would find Ahmed Stone putting the ball into the Colonial side of the field. Berthew would keep it himself and make the score 42-28. The Colonials would not be able to move the ball down the field, and on their punt, destiny would show that yet again it has a bias towards the Colonials. Upon the recovery of this punt, the Ghosts would have had the opportunity to drive the ball down the field and make it a 1-score game. But a fumble would be one of the ultimate turning points in this one, as the Colonials would now have the ball deep in Abington's territory and an opportunity to make it a 3-score game. The entire week leading up to this game, the Colonials were calling themselves the Ghostbusters. They even went as far as asking the band to play the Ghostbusters theme after every touchdown. Who were they going to call? Brian Dresden. He scored his 4th, making it 49 points on the board for the Colonials. When in situations of desperation, people tend to make mistakes. The Ghosts would do that again, giving up another costly fumble, despite being able to move the ball deep into the Colonial zone. Despite this almost back-breaking play, the Colonials' offense would be stopped and Abington would get another opportunity. Berthew was able to avoid the sack so many times, but not this time, as Jack Hildebrand would find him and cause a huge loss. Still, Berthew refused to give up. After Davis almost sacked him, he was able to connect with the receiver, setting Abington up in a perfect scoring situation. The Ghosts had to score, and they had to score quick. They were able to do that in the back of the end zone with a brilliant catch made by Baker. The score was now 49-35, and Abington would attempt an onside kick, but the Colonials would recover. Most teams at this point of the game would start counting their chickens, but when you have one of the best offensive lines and running games in the SOL American, you're going to take advantage of that. Mike Pichella would score the second longest running play of the day, and put the Colonials up 56-35. somehow, some way, the Ghosts were able to move the ball down the field and score a touchdown, making it a 98-point game with the score of 56-42. The Ghosts now would need to try to do the impossible and recover an onside kick, score a touchdown, and do that again. But it all started here with a laser beam to Dylan Duran that he was able to catch. Duran all but sealed the game right here on this play, and all the Colonials had to do was kneel on the ball. The clock had now officially hit 0. All the naysayers and doubters were proved wrong as the Colonials won their first playoff game in over 22 years. They would move on to the next round to play Garnet Valley, and after one of the most successful seasons that we've seen in recent history, this Colonial team proved why they will be one that will be remembered for many years to come. And with this game being so entertaining, that is what made this one a Colonial Classic.
I said last week when I hit my 1,000 yards, I said, this is the greatest moment of my life. But now tonight, this is an even better moment. I think that's just amazing. I never expected it, and it's so amazing.
What made this season so special to me was that I think the biggest thing that made it special was just the group of kids we had, especially the seniors. I just think we had, unlike our previous 2 years, which we had very unsuccessful season in terms of our record. I mean, maybe other aspects they were successful, Football is more than just winning and losing, but I think this year the reason why we were so successful is because we had seniors who really wanted to win. We were tired of losing the last 2 years, and I think that's what separated us, because we weren't like half into it, like, we'll try our best, whatever. I feel like each and every senior really, and the lower classmen too, I think the seniors are the most important. I really felt like everybody wanted it as bad as I did. Even from starting the practices way back in January, we all thought like we were going to be really good this year because we had so many seniors. That too, like we had a strong belief that we were going to be good this year, which also helped, whereas last year we weren't as confident going in, so I don't think there was as much energy about the season. But, what contributed to making it special was how successful we were in terms of wins, but I also think it was special because we were able to bounce back from those 2 awful seasons. I mean, not awful in terms of wins and losses, and be able to come out and prove to everybody, because we knew we could do it, but everybody else, kids, teachers, everybody outside our little clique thought, PW football is going to suck again this year. Well, it wasn't true, and I think that's what made it so great, is that redemption aspect. But, also I think that this season was special because it honestly, for me personally, aside from the team aspect, it was my favorite and most fun season of a sport that I've ever played, because I felt like I was really contributing to our success, and also that I was put in the correct position to succeed by the coaching staff, which helped me enjoy the season a lot, and that's all. Thank you.
This season meant the world to us and the whole team, really, obviously, but especially to these senior leaders and captains and players that suffered these past 2 years with 1-8. I mean, it was tough mentally, being athletes you're not used to, you don't like to lose. Although football is not all about the wins and losses, it sure makes it a lot better. But just to see that sort of change and that sort of turnaround in 1 year for the coaches, for the players, the culture, I think it's going to be a good thing for PW football in the next coming years, and that's just really special to me. But what really made this season special, for me at least, was the group of guys we've had around us. I mean, obviously no one likes to practice every single day, especially when the coaches are running you, and it's a lot of hard work, but just to know you're coming to hang out with your best friends outside after school, nothing was more mind-easing than that. And the team dinners. I know Dres said the team dinners were huge. I mean, those were awesome. Parents did a great job organizing them, and just everything outside of the actual game of football was what really made the season special, and which I think led to all those wins and a great year for the coaches and the players and everyone involved with the organization.